Because I can see it brewing in your eyes.
No, last week we were talking about statistics
Hmm.
in the industry about the
Hmm.
services.
Right.
And it made me so upset that I even wrote a whole article about it and I posted it too. And then I was talking to Bernard about it on the Profitable Stylist Academy. And then I've been talking to Darren about it. I want to create a class about this. Like it's really bothering me. I can't let it go. I just can't drop it. One of the things that I've come to terms with though is the positive. So like forget the negative side of it. I'm over it. I did my complaining last week. There's a lot of positives to this. There's a lot of positives to this. I think hairstylists kind of get caught up in the client to client, get caught up in their schedule too much. And they just start becoming on autopilot. And they're just trying to get through the day and trying to stay on time. This fear of trying to stay on time every time for every single person is a mind blowing thing. Last night, just to give you an example, last night, my 515 called at 5:30 and said she's running 10 minutes behind for her appointment. The front desk was like, well, you're not running 10 minutes behind. You're running now almost 45 minutes behind because your appointment was at 5:15. She goes, oh, no, I had it at 5:30 in my book. She goes, well, I don't care what you had in your book. Your appointment was at 5:15. So, and Eddie he's booked, so like, I don't know what to tell you. She's, so my client had the good sense. The front desk was having a hard time. Last night was rough. So she was having a hard time. So she's just like, I've had it with everybody. I don't care anymore, right? And she wasn't being reasonable. The client had the good sense to say, well, do you mind going asking Eddie if it's okay if I still come in? Because sometimes he'll do it. She's like, fine, hold on. Now I'm hearing all of this from my station. The desk side of things, not obviously what the client said. But then, she comes over and she goes, this is what the client said. Okay, fine. And here's me. Because now I got a client in my chair. So I'm in the middle of working on somebody, and here's the desk telling me, and she's aggravated. So she's annoyingly saying that the client is an idiot in front of another client. So here's me. I'm like, it's fine. I run late on her sometimes too. She runs late on me. She's just as airheaded as I am when it comes to keeping track of time. Tell her just come over, no worries. So then as she starts walking away, the client sitting in the chair goes, you really are airheaded about telling time. And I make a joke about it too. I'm like, yeah, She goes, but at least you're always on top of it. At least you always get everything taken care of. I'm like, that I do. Spin it into a positive, right? Okay.
Right.
She shows up at 5:45. I have a 6 o'clock. It usually takes me 30, almost 40 minutes to do her hair. There's no way I'm going to be on time for my 6 o'clock. And now that's all messed up. The client in my chair, her timer is going to go off. What am I going to do? We don't have shampoo help. Shampoo help didn't show up yesterday either. So it's like, okay, you see how this is starting to develop, right?
Yeah.
Sit her down and I go, okay, what are we doing on you? Now I'm starting to do a consultation. She goes, look, I know I was late. Just do the same thing you always do. Don't worry about it. I don't want to mess up any of your time. I'm like, I appreciate it, but no, let's talk. What's on your mind? Because if you're saying that, something's in your mind. So she's like, well, I have a picture. I'm like, here we go. All right, show me your picture. She goes, oh, I got to find it.
We've all been there. We've all been there.
And she starts scrolling. 10 seconds later, she's still scrolling. 20 seconds goes by. She's still scrolling. And I'm just standing there. So I'm like, all right, you know what? Look, describe to me. What are you looking for? Oh, it's a haircut. What kind of haircut? Oh, I don't know. It's really fluffy and poofy, but it's movement, but it's not layered, but it's got a lot of movement. What? It's a bob, but it's not. Okay. I used to wear a bob when I was 20 years old. You're not 20 years old anymore. That was 20 something years ago. Kind of hair did you have back then? Oh, it was way thicker. Okay. Point is, We get into it with each other, and I'm telling her, look, just describe it to me while you're looking for your picture. I said, in the meantime, listen, I got to color your hair as it is. You got your outgrowth. Why don't I go mix up the color? Keep looking for your photo. Take your time. Don't worry about it. I'll come back, right? We'll do this, and that's it. 6 o'clock walks in. Hi, I'm here. Hey, come on over. As I'm starting to apply the color on my late client, talking to my 6 o'clock, I'm starting to do the consultation. She goes, oh, I think it's just a highlight tonight. I go, oh, it's not just a highlight. We actually do a specialty highlight on you. It's actually a reverse highlight. She goes, what's a reverse highlight? I go, you're 100% gray. It's 100% white. So I actually low light your hair. And I use your natural unpigmented hair, the grays, as highlights. It's called an optical illusion. So we actually only low light your hair. I don't actually bleach your hair. I don't lighten your hair. I don't do anything to your natural color at all. That's why when it starts growing out, it grows in so softly, so naturally. She goes, I get so many compliments. Oh my God. I was at brunch on Sunday and I'm thinking, ooh, it's time to come see you. And 3 women walked up to me and said they absolutely love my hair. And here's me all embarrassed that I got the outgrowth going on, right?
Right.
I go, but that's the whole point. That is exactly the whole point. I do a specialty service on you. It's not just a highlight. It's not your traditional highlight. So then she goes back and sits down. All right, give me a couple of minutes. I'm just finishing up over here and I'll get you started. No worries. You want a cup of coffee, something? Yeah, sure. All right, we'll go make you one. Go sit down. Easy, taken care of. She doesn't have a problem with me running behind. She feels like I've addressed her at the time she walked in. I was respectful of her appointment time. I did her consultation with her. Now she's going to go sit and wait. Now I got my client sitting in the chair. She finally finds her picture. Okay, cool. The color that I'm doing on her is going to fit that new haircut that she's looking for. Perfect. Done. But that's not just any haircut. That is an inverted bub. It's freaking fun. Freaking fun. You love that haircut too, right?
I do love that haircut.
So that's not just your traditional easy run-of-the-mill haircut. That's an inverted bub. It's different. It's special. It's awesome. I pointed that out to her. She goes, ooh, she got even more excited about it than she already was. And then she goes, well, can I have any kind of special highlights like how she has? I go, in actuality, we do. We absolutely do. We do an overglaze on you. We don't just do highlighting on you. I do a traditional balayage and an overglaze on you. So you actually do have a specialty form of coloring as well. She goes, oh, that sounds cool. I have an overglaze, She's so now she's got a specialty haircut, a specialty color. This woman feels really special. I go, you are really special. And after a couple of seconds, she looks at me, she goes, hey. I'm like, well, you are that kind of special too, yes. But I meant, and we're just having a laugh. So now she doesn't feel bad about running late. She's satisfied, totally happy. At the end of it all, we're looking at this and we're going, look, you can do your traditional global application, your single process, and that's okay. And probably 80% of your clients are going to be that. But why not try to get from 80% down to 50%? And instead of only doing 20% special services, do half your services special, the other half of your services traditional. And now you have an opportunity to grow yourself phenomenally. If not for nothing, at a minimum, you start becoming a named stylist in your area. What is the power of being a named stylist in your area?
Are you asking?
I'm asking you. What is the power of being a named stylist in your area?
Well, number one is you become the go-to person. Number two, you then can charge what you want to charge.
And nobody blinks an eye.
No.
And they say thank you, and they tip you, and they rebook you.
100%. 100%. But
now,
so then
you do a crap ton of specialty services.
I live on I do nothing but specialty services. But here's my question to you, and not to throw fuel on the fire. Where did it change for us where people are so scared to A, be late, and B, to not charge what they're worth?
It's
What happened?
it's a problem. It goes back. It goes back a number of years. You know, we're gonna have to take a little story time, and I'm just gonna summarize it. I'm not gonna get too deep into it because that could be a whole nother thing dedicated to itself. Okay. 20, 30 years ago, there was only a handful of brands. Trends were only seasonal, 4 times a year. You either were with the trend or you weren't. It was pretty
Right,
simple, it was pretty straightforward. With the advent of social media and with the advent of influencers and with the advent of private labeling on products, there is so many things going on, okay? And unfortunately, the industry shifted from education focused to sales focused. And when it shifted to sales focused, the education department started shrinking, started getting smaller. The artistry started becoming more commercialized and streamlined. And then it just became a pissing contest on who can do bigger, better, stronger, crazier, more out there. You know, the artistry got lost. And then it became an assembly line. And that's really the problem. And when it became to that level, you're only as good as being on time and getting somebody in and out and having competitive prices. Well, if you're going to try to have competitive prices, then you can't raise your price because then you're no longer competitive. You're expensive. And if you're worried about the artistry, then you're going to run behind. Then you're not on time anymore. Then you can't compete that way as well. Then if you can't fight everybody else, the assembly line mentality, you're not going to make it. Now you're a nervous wreck because you're taking a financial hit. And a lot of hairdressers got into that mode and they're terrified of their own shadow to the point where the client is literally dictating what the formula should be because the client went and looked it up on a forum somewhere or on a YouTube or on a TikTok or whatever the hell, it's called. And they're like, oh, I saw this. This is the formula. This is what I want. And the stylist, without even thinking, is that even going to match for your type of hair? They're just copying it verbatim because they're terrified of going against the grain and arguing about it. Well, it's not even arguing. It's being professional about it. Doing a proper consult. It's rough.
yeah.
It's rough. So
Yeah,
that's the summary gist of it all.
yeah.
There's a lot
So
more involved, but
to close out the rant, um, at least personally, and over the past 2 years, changing the ball game for myself the way I did, it is about being creative. It is about servicing the client, and no longer is it an assembly line. Because for a while, yeah, I was in that. It's funny when you brought it up because I still remember, 15, 16 heads a day, churning and burning. And like we talked about last week, that's not sustainable. Your body can't do it. I have friends. People that I know, doing this all day. And now all of a sudden, they're like T-Rexes because, their shoulders are shot. I get it. You're 100%. You hit the nail on the head with this one big time today. So basically what we're saying, if I can paraphrase everything into together is bring back the artistry. And if you're doing specialty things for your clients, you can build that ticket up to where you're not killing yourself and you're making a really good living and you're having really happy clients and you're being rewarded across the board with what you're doing.
That's a good way to summarize it.
Um, so